Welcome back to a special edition of Help. There's a teenager in my house, and I've got a special guest with me here today. I've got Krystina Hill. She's gonna lay down some good old advice, or how about some things that she learned growing up. And we want to talk about not just teenagers, but also young adults. Because you know and I know that the ages of 18 to 24, they make some of the most important decisions ever. And Krystina also teaches. And what do you teach?
I teach psychology courses for Evangel University.
So she's dealing with young adults all the time. Plus, she grew up in the house with Pastor as a young adult. And Pastor always says that, you want your children to be well married and well educated, and your parenting is not done until that point. So I want to ask you a couple questions about growing up in a home, going to college, with Pastor and Pastor Sue as your parents, not only your pastors, but also your parents. And what kind of things did Pastor and Pastor Sue do to keep kind of not a hold, but a influence in your life as you went to college?
Well, they thought it was important for young people, even young adults, to stay busy during that time. Mm-hmm. So you go to class, you go to a part-time job, you come home, you do your homework, and of course, you can hang out with your friends, but nothing good happens in the early morning after midnight hours. So same rules apply for dating. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end, but there has to be an end. Nothing's gonna happen great after midnight, 1, 2 a.m. So there was always still the expectation of you come home. Austin was the one that got his car keys taken away. And that only has to happen a couple times before the message is clear. And for me, he always had my mom, Pastor Sue, wait up to make sure that I made it home in time for curfew. But, whether I was hanging out with my girlfriends or on a date, it was the expectation of there's an end to it, so that there wasn't any room for making bad choices. And sometimes, you just get carried away and you don't mean to, until you're in a situation where you can make those bad decisions. So they were trying to circumvent anything foolish that could happen, but they were also very involved. My dad would come home from work and I'd be done doing part-time childcare at St. Paul's in the afternoons after college classes, and he'd say, "Are you keeping up with your assignments? How's everything going? When do you get your midterm grades? I'd like to review them to see if you're on track. If you need help, talk to your brother. He's navigated college. If you need help, go to the student center, get a tutor." And they were just trying to help me stay on track. And I think that's important. A lot of times parents think, they're in college, they'll make it through. But there are many kids I encounter in my classes where parents don't know they're flunking out of their entire semester and it's only October.
Right.
So you just have to stay tapped into what's going on, even if they're away at college.
You mean they didn't just let you go and just figure it out yourself?
No, they did not, and if you need help, ask for help and find out from your professors. My dad was always trying to instill values into us of go meet your professor face to face.
Right.
Don't just make a phone call or send an email, but go talk to them face to face. And that even works with my college students. For Evangel, as professors, we tell them, reach out to us, send us an email, ask for a meeting, tell us what's going on with you, tell us what's not working with your class, what do you need guidance on? And that personal contact does make a difference even in college.
Right.
And it sets the young adult up for success when they reach the full-time career workplace.
Right. You're right, because when you go to college, you have so much extra time on your hands.
Yes.
Because your school time is cut way back. Mm-hmm. And some people are they have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, and sometimes students get in this whole, they focus on the syllabus, the part where it says you can miss so many classes and still pass the class. But let me tell you cannot do a semester's worth of work in the last 3 weeks of class. It just doesn't work.
No. So even in college, they were checking your curfew when you came home.
Or if I was at Evangel and I didn't call my mom enough, this is tips for even the young adults. My dad would send me a text message and say, "Hey, if you don't call your mom, I'm gonna send her up there to visit you because she's driving me nuts." And so I make sure, phone in with your parents and ask your young adult to phone in with you. even every week you need to hear their voice. Moms have that sense about them. They know when something's off about their students. So if you need to make a quick weekend trip, listen to that still small voice. Go visit them. If they sound homesick to you or they're not answering all your questions or giving you enough feedback, you're still their parent. I mean, you can't just let that tiny infant you held go off into that real world and not make sure they're okay. Because like Pastor always said, until they're well educated and well married, you're still their parent. So listen to that still small voice and check in on them and make sure. Another great key piece of advice they gave me when I moved to Evangel University in Missouri was find a church and attend church and volunteer, get plugged in. And so I visited a couple churches, and some of them I thought, oh my goodness, this is weird, or I just wasn't comfortable, or I just didn't see any room for growth opportunities for me to volunteer. If it was, too far forward or too back in the old school days, I just wanted to find a right fit for me. So I found a church and I did what they said. I attended and then I started volunteering in the kids areas. And that's actually how I met my husband Derek, was through somebody we both knew because I was volunteering and he was also working off duty up there. So to still train your children. Church is important. That's not something we leave behind when we're kids or in high school. That's how we live our everyday life, even in college.
Yeah, because you even go from having your friends you grew up with, especially like at St. Paul's or for private Christian school, you guys all the way from elementary to high school were friends, and then all of a sudden you've got this new set of friends that you're getting. So how did you navigate that, trying to find new people at college to hang around?
In my TCU days of my undergraduate degree, I really didn't make a lot of friends at the beginning. A lot of students just go there, they're away from their parents for the first time, and they think they're just gonna live life to the fullest while they're borrowing the money or their parents are helping pay for it. And they don't go to classes, they party all the time, they didn't get involved in things that I knew I wasn't gonna live my life that way, get involved in. And plus, because I knew my parents were checking in with my grades, I had better go to class.
Right.
So, you have to steer your young adult college student in the right direction. It's okay if they don't make friends that first semester. It's okay if other students are making bad choices, but you are not. We live our lives with a purpose, with a calling. And, it really took me until I got into my second year of college. I met some girls in my education degree plan that were raised with the same values. They grew up in church, they went to smaller schools, and by the end I graduated with a small group of 3-4 girlfriends, and we could go to lunches, we could study together, we would go to games together, but there was no pressure, there was no you have to come out and drink with us, and that can take some time, but the important thing is you don't want to throw your St. Paul's graduate into college and just let them go.
Right.
You still have to guide them with that sense of, you know who you are. You will find and make great friends. But we're not just going to throw out all of our values for 4 years.
Right.
And see what happens.
So you had to shift through a bunch of people before you finally found like-minded people.
Like-minded people, that's right.
So it wasn't just, hey, I know you're in my class, let's go hang out type thing.
Exactly. And I did have friends, and they went to college, and they threw off everything that they learned growing up. But their life did not turn out any better. They actually, I have so many that say, oh, I regret the decisions I made. I got off track, took me forever to graduate, or had to change schools because I made poor decisions. And, you can set your student up for success by just helping them make more adult type decisions for themselves, but they need to still be guided through that.
Right.